All right, hey everybody, welcome to Down Home Backyard Gardening. Now I'm out here in the garden today and I was looking around at everything and it dawned on me I haven't done a video about what I like to grow in spring. So I thought, why not do one, tell you all exactly what are my top 5 favorite vegetables to grow and why. So sit back, relax, this won't be a long one, so let's grow. Okay, so let's just start at number 5. We're gonna start with the beans. I love to grow beans, whether it's bush beans or trellising beans, it doesn't matter. I like to grow them. Now, as you can see right here, these are trellising beans. And they are all the way, look at that, they're all the way at the top up there. Good grief. Pretty soon, these plants will start producing beans, and I'm really excited for that. Now, I don't know if it's just me, but something about a plant that is trellising, it's almost like it's reaching for the sun. You know, and I don't know, I love that. Plus, beans are really, really good for your soil. They put nitrogen back into your soil. So growing beans is beneficial in many ways, not just because we get to eat them. Beans are super hardy also. So why not grow them in the springtime? If you're in a climate where the beans thrive, then you might have them all the way through the fall. So like, here's another example. I had this bin that I couldn't do anything with it. I can't even move that thing. The plastic is so brittle. So I just threw a bunch of bush beans in there. And look, they're starting to flower. So pretty soon, probably within a week, I'll start having beans out here. Number 5, beans. Let's go to number 4. Okay, so number 4 is probably most people's number 2 or 3. But for me, number 4 is the squash and zucchinis. Now, okay, so right off the bat, I absolutely love squash and zucchini. Just love them. But the only bad thing about a squash and a zucchini plant are the vine borers. There is something about these plants that bring in those vine borer moths that lay those eggs, and then before you know it, your plants are dead. So last year, I started filling up these containers with mothballs and water. And I had no vine borer eggs at all until months after these plants were big and growing and producing. Then of course you're going to start getting those vine borers, but they're up high. They're not down at the base where they're killing the plants. So everywhere that I have a zucchini or a squash plant, I am going to have tons of these mothball waters because it works. Absolutely works. And it worked last year, and as you can already tell, I'm going crazy with the mothball water. I'm going to have them everywhere. In fact, if the wind's blowing just right, that's all you smell is mothballs out here, but I don't care. I'm going to protect the squash and zucchini plants. So my number 4 plant, squash and zucchinis. Now my number 3 might surprise you. Okay, so my number 3 plant, again, this might be a bit of a surprise, but it is potatoes. I love growing potatoes. I don't know what it is. No, I do know what it is. The very first time I started planting potatoes, my oldest daughter found 4 potatoes in the bottom of the pantry and said, hey, why don't you try growing these? And I was like, they're not going to grow. And they might. Threw them in the pot. I threw them in a bin over there, and I think I got 26 potatoes from those 4 potatoes. So why do I like growing potatoes? Because with the potato plant, even with your sweet potato plants, but with your potato plants, you don't know what's under the ground. You don't know what you're actually going to get, so it's kind of a surprise. You don't know if you're going to get 1 potato or 26 potatoes or 56 potatoes, or if you're going to have a bunch of little ones or 1 monster one. You don't know, so it's a surprise, and that is what I love about growing potatoes. Besides, you're getting potatoes. And I mean, how cool is it that you can just throw a few seed potatoes in these bins here and look at the growth. These are blue man, I cannot say that word. Adirondack. These are blue Adirondack. This section right here should be pantry potatoes growing, but they're not. We got Yukon Gold in this one, and then I forgot what these are. It's like a red. These are like a red Northland potato. So I'm excited for all of these. Yes, so my number 3 springtime plant, and I know if you're thinking potatoes, you're probably thinking fall, because you can grow them in the fall also. But where I am here in zone 9A, if you can get these planted right at the last expected frost date, which is what I did this year, then we're 4 weeks into the growing season, and you can see how much these are growing. And they should be done for when I'm ready to plant the sweet potato slips, which will be going in these bins here also. So, number 3, potatoes, for sure. Now, number 2, I'm sure everyone's probably going to guess what number 2 is, but okay, so if you've been following this channel for any length of time, you know I love growing peppers. Peppers, and more peppers. I don't think I can have enough peppers, quite honestly. I mean, I have an entire bed. I have this entire bed dedicated to peppers. Now, there are flowers in here, but that's just companion planting. But this entire bed will be nothing but peppers very soon. And then that bed right over there, I've got a bunch of jalapenos growing for a friend of mine's son who's supposed to be helping me in the garden. And that is his bed right over there. And those are all jalapenos. So peppers are fun to me because, one, they're perennial, so they always come back. In fact, I've got, just go see it. This jalapeno plant right here, there were 3 of them in this pot. The other 2 died because they were old. This is a 3-year-old jalapeno plant right here. So because they are a perennial, peppers will come back. And I love growing peppers for this reason. You can spend the time planting 1 or 2 or 3 plants, say in a garden or in a container, and you should have those plants for 2 to 3 seasons. If you prune them correctly over the winter, then in spring they're going to come back strong and continue producing. So peppers, to me, are fun to grow because there's so many different types. You got sweet peppers, you got super hot peppers, you got insanely should be illegal Carolina Reaper peppers. There's all kinds of peppers, and there's so many ways to use peppers. So for me, my number 2 plant to grow in spring are peppers. Now, number 1, I'm sure everyone's probably figured it out by now, but let's do it. Okay, my number 1 plant for spring is, just look behind me. I built an entire thing for these plants. Tomatoes. Now, I don't know what it is about a tomato that basically makes this plant the rock star of gardens. Everybody wants to grow the biggest tomato, the prettiest tomato, the fattest tomato, the juiciest tomato. I just want to grow tomatoes. Now, fun fact about me, I'm not a big tomato person. I'll eat them, but I won't eat them a lot. So, like with everything else that I grow, I give away probably 90% of everything that I grow. And I love doing that for so many reasons, but one of the reasons is being able to provide food for friends and family just makes sense to me, and it's something I enjoy doing. Plus, being in the garden is therapy for me. So if I could do 2 things at the same time, then why not, right? Tomatoes, though, are fun because there are so many different types of tomatoes, just like the peppers. But with the tomato plant, you have to know what kind you've got. Whether it's a determinate, which is basically a bush tomato plant, or an indeterminate, which will become big vining tomato plants that will easily reach the top of this trellis, which is 6 feet, and probably get even taller. So what I decided to do this year is I turned this entire bed into one big tomato bed. Now, all around the edges of it are basil plants, and I still have openings for more basil plants that will be going in actually later today. But I have found growing tomatoes is very therapeutic, and it keeps you on your toes because tomato plants can get diseases really easy. If you water them wrong, they're going to get a disease, and they draw in pests. So you are constantly having to be on your toes with tomatoes. And that is one of the reasons that I absolutely love growing them, because it keeps you in the game. You can't take a day off. Just like with the squash and zucchini plants, you got to be in the garden. You got to be looking for pests. You got to be looking for disease. and you've got to be ready to rock and roll and go whichever way you need to go for those plants. Now, every year for my single seed challenge, I have had a tomato plant. And the one drawback about tomato plants is that they are annuals. You're not going to keep them multiple years. They're not a perennial plant. But that's also a good thing, because every spring you get to start over. And you could try new tomatoes, different varieties of tomatoes. And that makes it exciting, because you just never know. And just like with these single seed challenge plants here, I mean, look at the crazy shape of that tomato right there. And that is the very first tomato of the year for this channel in 2023. This tomato right here that I'm holding. Just in the last couple days, look at all the tomatoes that this plant is already starting to put on. Look at that. They're just putting on tomatoes like crazy. This one will be very soon, I know. So those are my top 5 springtime vegetables that I love to grow here on this channel and in this little tiny suburban backyard. If you all have any different types of vegetables that you love growing, please drop them in the comments below. I would love to read about them. And if you're going to drop a comment, also explain why you love those plants. I just think it'll be fun to share with the community. So everyone, that's all I've got. Very short video, but I wanted to kind of get out here and do a video where I kind of explain what I like in the garden and why. So if y'all enjoyed this video, as always, please share it. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. I would greatly appreciate it. And as always, everyone, take care, God bless, and until next time, continue to shine bright and harvest hard. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.